Yeah.
So, question one, the classic. Who is Melissa Chavez?
Let's see. I am a maker. I've always been a maker since I was really little. My mom called me a factory. So I would like find something. I like went through a polymer clay phase. I made like a whole herd of tiny horses that were like this big.
Yeah.
And they were all different kinds and different colors. And like, you know, I went through a beading phase. I went through so many phases. And I just made, like my hands, they just want to make stuff.
Yeah.
You know? So that is in essence, I think, the core of who I am, pretty much.
And your family's always been creative.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess that's, you know,
Rubbed off
on you.
Yeah, and my son is the same way. But like growing up, like on Sundays, we would all get our sketchbooks out and we would all just like draw together.
Oh, that's great.
And we always had sketchbooks. It was like a necessity, just like food or water. We had our sketchbooks.
Right. Yeah, it's always there.
Yep.
And did you always know you were going to make?
You know, I actually went to college as a music major, which is still in the art
Yeah, it's creative.
vein. But for a while I thought I was going to like, you know, play in an orchestra somewhere, you know, something like that.
Right.
But I was always doing art and drawing and making. I started out in college actually as a forensics major.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because like, you know, my family, not my parents, but like my family, I felt pressure to like do something that was like in the sciences that like made money, you know, stuff like that. But I hated it.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't you.
Yeah, I hated it. So I switched to graphic design, which is what my parents both studied in college.
Okay.
But I also hated that.
Right.
So I switched to music, which is what I had done. Like I went to Allstate. I went to like this governor's honors program with music in high school. Like I did it a ton in high school. Auditioned for a lot of stuff, got into a lot of stuff. And so that's what I ended up majoring in. But I was an art major for a while, so I took a bunch of art college classes.
Yeah. And how did you land on pottery? How did that become the thing that stuck?
Yeah.
Did you try other things before?
I've tried a lot of things. Like I did jewelry making in high school,
Cool.
which I loved. I thought of going to college for that.
You do that in high school?
Yeah.
You don't do that back home. You don't have...
Jewellery making's not a thing back home
That's
from
insane.
high school. You need to. It's quite difficult. There's certain universities that do it, but certainly not at high school level.
Mine was unique, actually. Like I haven't heard of another high school that does it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So mine was like, I went to the high school the first year it was a high school. So I was the first full graduating class.
Right.
But yeah, they had a jewelry class and I was like, yeah. So
That's
I took
awesome.
it twice
Nice.
and I loved it. But yeah, so how I ended up on pottery was we ended up moving back out here after being out west for a long
Yep.
time. So we went to college in Idaho. We met, we got married. We had our son in Idaho. We moved to Utah for like 1 year. And then circumstances at my husband's work, we had to leave. And so we're like, well, we need to go stay with family. And so we decided to come here, stayed with my parents who were next door. And then, you know, the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was, you know, life-changing.
Yeah.
But anyway, right before the pandemic, so in 2019, my mom works at the Johns Creek Art Center. It's just a local art center here. She's an art teacher. Mm-hmm. And they also offer pottery classes.
Okay.
So, and I had seen on Instagram, Pitch Pine Pottery was the first one I really saw, that she had drawn stuff on her pots.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just saw it and I was like, I could do that. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to try it. And so my mom gets a discount because she's a teacher at this place. So I was like, okay, I'm going to save. I saved for like 3 months to have enough money to take an 8-week class at
Amazing.
the art studio that she works at. And like the first time I sat down at the wheel, I just like,
That's
I-
me.
Is it just?
yeah, it felt right. Like I just like, it clicked immediately, which if anyone's ever tried pottery, it usually doesn't. It's very difficult. I mean, it was still difficult, but like it made sense to me.
Right.
And I felt like I had almost done it before
Yeah. Okay.
or something. So I was like, yeah, I like this, you know? And so I kept, you know, on in my class and I started adding drawings onto it. And I was like, yeah, this is awesome.
And did you immediately see it as I could make a living doing this?
I did, actually.
Right, okay.
I did. Like, I remember, actually, even before I took my class, I was talking to my husband, and we were talking about, like, what would your ideal life be, right? They say, like, if you talk about it, sometimes that helps it, like, come into reality,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, you know, like, ideally, I think, you know, I would wake up, you know, I'd make a nice, healthy breakfast for myself. I'd go and I would make something. I was like, maybe pottery, you know, and I would do that until lunchtime, maybe go take a walk outside, come back, you know, and like be ready for when my son comes home from school. And, you know,
Yeah.
so that was even before I started taking classes, which is crazy. But for some reason,
You just wanted it.
I just wanted it before even trying it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And what does it look like now? Does it look exactly as you described there? Is that how your day looks?
Like, it depends, because, so one thing that I deal with is I have chronic back issues,
Okay.
and they're pretty severe. Like, sometimes I can't even walk or
Really?
move around. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So it really depends on where my physical
Yeah.
body is.
Yeah.
But, yeah, on days where I'm going to make, you know, it is pretty much like that. I wake up, I make breakfast, put my son to school, you know, come in here and make stuff, and yeah.
So how does the making side tie into the family life? Because it sounds like you've got a really good balance
Yeah,
with regards to
well,
being able to pick up your son. You got your son's young, isn't he?
yeah, he's 9,
Right.
so he's in 3rd grade.
So you can be there for him every morning and every day after school.
Yeah.
It's important.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom was always a stay-at-home mom too, so it was important to me to do that.
Right.
So yeah, luckily we can live off of what Joe Bob makes.
Right.
But you know, in this economy, it's like, it's tight, you know?
Yeah.
So I would like to, you know, it's good to be able to
Push
help.
this further. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what does the day look like at the moment? Do you take your son to school and then do you just come out? Are you still in a because you're very new to this. Are you still in a process where you're just experimenting, or do you feel like you've found your thing now?
So that was actually kind of something I wanted to bring up because, well, I've been doing this, let's see, since 2019, so like almost 4 years now. But I've been doing art for like forever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I don't know, it feels like I have more experience than I do in a way. But I kind of hate how like artists feel like they have to be blocked into this one niche thing. You know, I'm like, why can't we make whatever we want? Isn't that part of what an artist is?
Yeah.
Is like experimenting with whatever you are inspired by,
Yeah.
you know? So this year though, I have decided, I'm like, okay, I'm going to stick to like some sort of niche because they say that's a good way to grow. So I'm like, maybe if I stick to one for a while and then I have at some point have enough people that are interested, then I could branch out and kind of do whatever the heck I wanted.
Yep.
Yep.
That's kind of the hope. But yeah, like, so I told you I went to Greece after high school, and it was right after I'd taken those jewelry making classes. And there's this museum there. It's by a jewelry maker. I can't pronounce his name. It's like in Greek. It's really long. But I remember going, my mom had found this place, and he had collections based on like everything.
Right.
So like one of them was based on the shapes of galaxies.
Okay.
And one of them was based on sperm.
Right.
And one of them was based on like different cultures and like just all different things. So they had all these sections in the museum. And I was like, yes, this is cool. So I think about that often.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And you find that a bit of an inspiration to do different things.
I would like to do that, yeah.
It is interesting though, isn't it? Because if you look at like any prolific product or industrial design studio, it's all different stuff they do. Like you've obviously got your Joseph and Josephs who do like tableware and stuff like that. But you look at like Maramo, or you look at
They probably
ID or stuff like that, like the bigger UK industries.
Yeah.
And they'll do, like thinking about Maramo, friend Ben works there, and they'll do like men's razors, luggage, maybe bicycles. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
They
Yeah,
do
yeah,
like
yeah, there's a variety.
like, obviously they're not the manufacturers of them, they're just the designers of them.
Yeah.
But there's no, other than, maybe it's the setup cost that stops people doing it.
Yeah.
Because you're then setting a shop up for everything.
Maybe. But I feel like with pottery, it's like pretty much all the same materials unless you're doing something crazy different.
Right.
Because you've got your clay,
Yeah.
which is the same. You've got your underglazes,
Yep.
which would be the same. You know, maybe different colors, but
It's just
yeah.
a different style. Like you don't have to do the same.
So you would
Yeah.
always still do pottery as the medium, just different styles within pottery.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
But, I mean, I'm one of those people that wants to try everything. Like, I want to try
I think
glass
you should,
blowing
though.
and metalworking. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
and leatherworking and stuff like that, which I have seen some makers, like, I don't know if you know Hand and Fire. She's, like,
Yeah.
from Oregon. And she does, yeah, woodworking and pottery
Yep.
and a couple different things. And I love that.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's quite a setup cost, but it is really
Yeah.
cool. Like, if you can get on top of the setup cost, it's cool.
Yeah.
Which a setup cost for a lot of makers is quite difficult. You know, you just
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
small and then you just expand. How's that been for you? Like, what did you start off with?
So I started off with just doing things at the art center where I took classes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, you know, I would throw there.
It's quite important to have spaces like that available
Yeah.
to people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it'd have been
like,
a big investment for you if you didn't know it was going to stick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You really want to like try it before you like
Yep.
Yeah.
commit, you know? But yeah, so for quite a while, I went there, I made my stuff. I brought it home to decorate it because I can do that at home.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I could just sit on the couch and
Yeah.
paint and carve out all my stuff. And then I started selling my work and I saved everything that I made towards getting a wheel. And I remember it was interesting because it was like I think it was like December before the pandemic started. And I didn't have quite enough money yet. But I was like, hey, love, can we purchase this and I can pay back
Yeah.
whatever we don't have right now? And he was like, yeah, if you think that's what you want, then go for it. It was on sale at the time. And so I got it. And then like 2 months later, the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And I couldn't go to class anymore.
Oh, okay.
But I had a wheel.
Great.
So
Great.
it was just
Good
like this
timing then.
very,
good
serendipitous
intuition.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I couldn't fire anything, but I could make things and save them for when the
Yeah.
classes started up again, and then I could fire them.
Right, okay.
So I could still make and I could still practice and stuff like that.
Which seems like all the ceramists we've talked to, that seems to be the dumb practice. You just make a load and then fire it
Fire,
all at
yeah.
once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to the trying different things, what's your view on collaborating with other makers?
I love collaborating with other makers. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like being inspired by each other is super
Yeah.
cool. And then like you can help them out and they can help you out. Like they have different followers than you do
Yeah.
and you do. And I think, you know, there's plenty of people to like not want to like
Tracy
hoard
would love-
everything.
But that's exactly why I'm asking. Do you want to hang out with Tracy and Tim? Because they're wicked.
She's got a fire and thing in
Yeah,
her.
she's got... So do you fire here?
No.
Right.
That's the next thing I want to save for is my own kiln. So I had been taking classes at the art center, but some things happened there. I'm not going back
Yeah.
to keep it brief. But I have a couple friends with kilns.
Cool.
And so for now, I can make a bunch of stuff here and then I can go fire
Wicked.
at their
That's
kilns.
handy.
Wicked.
Yeah.
So going back to the collaboration thing, what do you think an ideal collaboration looks like for you?
Depends on what kind of collaboration we're talking about. I've seen ones where, like, someone will make jewelry, and then, like, say there's a potter, and they'll make a mug inspired by that piece of jewelry.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like,
Right.
same colors and stuff like that.
Yeah?
I think that's really cool, because, like, it's kind of playing off each
Yeah,
other's.
yeah.
Or a cool collaboration could look like maybe I make a mug and a different artist paints on it. And
Yeah.
we do that or something. I mean, I think any kind of collaboration is cool as long as both artists are kind of
Getting some-
showcased.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Getting
You know.
something
Yeah.
from it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest opportunities for people when almost all the makers have been the same.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm struggling to think of one that's different that views community as stronger than competition. You know, the community over
Yeah.
competition kind of thing. Is that would you fall in that category? You'd
Yeah.
prefer to work with people than
Oh,
compete
yeah.
against? Yeah.
Yeah. I think competing is just, I don't know, a little mean-spirited maybe.
Yeah, I get it.
You
I'm
know?
always interested in hearing other people's opinion, but like that's kind of my view. Like there's enough tables out there to put mugs on that you can all collaborate and enjoy it.
Yeah, and it makes for just such a better feeling and a better community,
Yeah.
and like,
And well, you work by yourself, so it's quite nice to talk to other people who are doing
Yeah.
similar things.
yeah,
And I guess Instagram's great for that.
Instagram is great for that. But yeah, it's like an instant bond that you have with someone if they make something.
Yeah.
You're like, that's so cool. And then,
Yeah.
you know, it's nice
You're
to
just
get that
into
feedback.
the same stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like I'm very well aware that we've not met a bad person in the few days we've been in the States yet, but I'm also very well aware that's because we're speaking to people that we're super interested in making.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not going to run into a bad person in that. That'd be very difficult to. I'm
Yeah.
sure there'll be one out there somewhere, but it'd be
It might
very
be
difficult
possible.
to. Yeah. So going back to your work, so talk more about the. Tell us more about the inspiration and the, because you don't just glaze, do you? You're painting onto them, and
Yeah.
that's not as common in ceramics.
No, it's not. So, you know, it is my art background.
Right.
I was like, this is awesome because I cannot just make art to go on a wall, which is also obviously amazing because both my parents are artists, so obviously I appreciate that. But I feel like most people are more drawn to things they can use. So this is a way for me to put my art
Yeah.
on things that people use
Yes.
sometimes daily,
Yeah.
which is really cool. So that's why I do the painting and the drawing on my pieces. But like these specifically, so like the shark's teeth are, so my family, my aunt lives in Florida, and she lives near a place where you can find lots of shark's teeth. And like we as a family like have been doing this since before I can remember.
Right. Okay.
So like I'm the oldest out of all of my cousins, and so I was the first one, but like I don't remember, I was probably like 5 or whenever
Right.
I was old enough to like recognize
Yeah.
like, hey, that's a shark's tooth. And we'd always follow our aunt who would teach us and kind of like basically steal her teeth
Right.
until we learned how to do it ourselves. But like I learned, all my cousins learned, so whenever we would go for Thanksgiving or Easter or whatever, we'd all go out to the beach, we'd all hunt, and then afterwards, you know, we'd like, who got the most, who got the biggest one, you know, who got the smallest one, you know, and stuff like that. And then they're fossils, so the ones you find on the beach are like millions of years old,
Right. Okay.
which is super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you're the first human to touch this for like millions of years.
Incredible.
Yeah.
It's very cool. And then growing up, we were also always part of the Georgia Mineral Society, which my mom is really into minerals and fossils and rocks and
Okay.
stuff like that. So like ever since we were little, you know, we would go out every so often and dig in the mud for crystals and fossils. And
Sounds like a good childhood.
Yeah.
yeah, she was very good at finding cool stuff for us to do, you know,
Yeah.
a variety of things to, I mean, she's a creative person, you
Yeah.
know, like I feel like those people are very drawn to that kind of stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. 100%. So you kind of grew up side by side with both nature and making, isn't it? Which
Yeah.
is an exact example of what you're doing now.
Yeah, and hiking, like we hiked all the time
Yeah.
in the mountains here, the waterfalls and stuff. So, yeah.
So, where would you like to see it go?
I would love to see it go, I mean, as big as it can without hiring like like I wouldn't want other people to make. Like I
Yeah.
want to keep it where
You'd
my
always still
hands
want
have
it to be
made it.
yours. Okay.
Yeah, I want it to be me making it. Like I mean, maybe someone helping me like do other stuff like pack or whatever, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I would want to make them. I would want to paint them and I would want to carve them because I
Right.
feel like you can feel the like person who created it kind of part of their spirit and what they make.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I'm a big believer of you're not buying a product, you're buying
the
a chunk of
person,
that
yeah.
person's life.
Yeah.
Like if that's an hour or 2 hours or 10 days or months, you're buying a chunk of that person's life.
Yeah.
So, how long have you been at it full time, like selling? How long did it take you to go from that class to like monetizing it?
Not that long.
Really?
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, like I probably started before I should. I don't know. Like people have different opinions of when you should start
Yeah,
selling.
do you know when
You
you
just need to
start
start.
selling? You should start selling the day you make your first sale. That's when
I
you
like
should start selling. The day you make your first sale.
I like that a lot. But no, my first sale was like this. Oh man, it's been so long. What was it? It was like this vase that I had made, and I just remember someone seeing it on Facebook and being like, "Can I buy that?" And I was like, what? I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, like you can buy it, you know? So I remember shipping it up and sending it out to them. And then I have a friend here and she asked for a couple like commission pieces.
Cool.
And so I made those. Some of my family
It always
asked
starts
for
with
some.
family and friends.
Family
doesn't
and
it?
friends.
They're really important to start. Like,
Yeah.
They're the real support. They're the real cheerleaders for you.
yeah.
It's awesome.
For
And I
your
always
team.
had support, you know, with the arts because
Yeah.
obviously my parents are artists. So
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, let's ask a packaging question now. Ceramics and packaging.
How do you do it?
How do you do it?
Okay, so like I watched a ton of other potters package their stuff because I was like,
Potters seem
they
to be
clearly
great
know what
at
they
this.
do.
Just like
Yeah.
showing you everything.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Bert said the same. Like Potters seem to be wicked good at it. And all makers are pretty good at sharing it if you ask.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But Potters seem to just like throw it out there.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but like for me, it's like, oh man, like I remember when I was trying to learn this, so like here you go.
Yeah.
You know, like I've done the work for you. Here
Yeah.
you go. But yeah, like basically so what I do is I like take a mug, I stuff it with newspaper because, you know, I try to like reuse where I can, you know, help the planet or whatever. So I stuff that in there and then I wrap it with bubble wrap. So I save like all my bubble wrap that I've gotten from like any orders that my family's gotten or that I've gotten. I save it.
We got the Nomono kit from sent over to Tim's because they were at South by Southwest, like showcasing it. And then the great guys at Nomono sent it over to us. And that's the first thing Tim and Tracy were like, Tim's like, you need this bubble wrap?
Because I'll take
It's
it.
going in that box.
Yeah.
And you know that's exactly what it's
Yes.
for. It's for Tracy, yeah.
Yes, it's exactly for that. Yeah, mine is in that little gray thing over there.
Yeah.
It's all my packaging
keep it
stuff
all-
that I hoard.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wrap it in bubble wrap and then I just like stuff whatever I have, like whether it's those packing peanuts or whether it's more newspaper,
Yep.
stuff it in the bottom, put the mug in with the handle like, so I'll shove the bigger part like to the side of the box and the handle, give it as much space where I can put packaging as possible so the handle won't break off. And then you just stuff it full until basically you shake it and it doesn't move. Yeah. And that's basically it.
That's it. Just
Yeah.
keep going and keep going. And what about like shipping it around the US? Is the US quite friendly for makers shipping? What's sort of postage costs look like?
Yeah, so postage cost is like usually, so if I'm shipping to like Florida or like North Carolina, somewhere really close, it's like $9, $10 for like a mug. If I'm shipping it to like California, it can be up to like $17 or $18. So
Still not mental. Like
it's not crazy. If it was like a big box with lots of stuff, then that would be a lot more expensive. But usually people are just buying like one or maybe two things.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because one thing we struggle with the book, because obviously it's a kilo. It's like just under a kilo, so like 2.2 pounds. It's like the weight of it, and we're an island.
Oh yeah.
So it
We talked about this.
it always has to go over water. And you always have to pay for it to get out of the water.
yeah.
Like the UK's
Yeah.
a doddle, it's like £3 to ship it, £3.50 to ship it. It's not expensive.
Yeah.
But like to get it over here,
You know, you bought
Yeah.
some. Yeah.
Yeah. The shipping was, which is why I hadn't bought it before because I was like, I want some of those, but I was like,
Yeah.
can I justify the shipping price?
I know.
And then you guys were coming, and I'm like, okay, I gotta get some.
that's good. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. So what does what do you think about the US for setting up a business? Do you think it's good for that? You know, do you think
Easy, hard.
obviously different states will be different? We're in Georgia at the moment,
Yeah.
so we can only talk about Georgia. But have you found it quite an easy thing to do, set up and get running as a business?
I think so. Like, you know, I start with Etsy. Etsy, you don't need it to have, like, you don't have to go out and get your, you know, license or whatever. You can just do it through Etsy. And, like, in the beginning on my taxes, I'd put it as, like, a hobby because that's more what it was at that point,
Yeah.
you know, a small thing. And then for this last tax season, always so fun.
Yeah.
You know, I just was able to put it in as a business, put all my expenses and everything. And so like, but this year my goal is to get an EIN number, which is like the official business, like your tax number thing.
So that would be like our limited company number.
Yeah.
Okay,
So like
yeah.
when we're a company, we register that with the government. All our accounts are linked to that bank
Yes.
account, like all that jazz. Yeah, is that what that is?
So that's my goal for this year is to get all that set up. and official and everything like that. And my dad has just done that, and he said it was fairly simple.
Good.
And he's done it now, so I can be like, what
Yeah,
exactly did you do?
help.
Can you come around?
Yes.
It's not too far. It's
Yeah.
only next door.
It's just a walk. So yeah.
Do you think that'll give you more motivation, more clarity, or maybe more pressure setting up as a business? Do you think it morphs
Definitely.
into something different?
I think so, because I mean, first of all, I would have my official bank account that was linked with my business, because right now it's just like all together,
Yeah.
which, you know, can be hard to manage because you have to like keep the numbers. You're like, okay, this much is the business stuff, this much is just our personal stuff.
Yeah.
So in a way, it kind of makes it easier because it totally separates it,
Yeah.
you know, from the other stuff. So I do think it changes it. And I do think it adds a little bit of pressure, you know, like, okay, this is real now.
Yeah. I
You know?
think good pressure though.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's good pressure.
Yeah.
Like a
I'm
motivational
convinced
pressure.
it's good pressure. It's
Yeah.
like that's exactly how we run ours. Like, so my contracting business is the same as We Are Makers at the moment. We've always wanted to move the We Are Makers to its own. It doesn't
separate.
cover its own. It covers its own costs just at the moment, so it's more
Yeah.
beneficial for any extra profit I make. We can just pump it straight into We Are Makers to do trips like this.
Yeah.
But setting it up as a business does become like an entity. It feels like the first, not big step, because the first big step's obviously starting.
Starting.
Yeah.
It feels like the first, like, I'm going to be doing this for a long time step.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do
It's
you always
like a
see yourself
commitment.
doing this? Yeah, it's a commitment. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. You've committed to this.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself doing this forever?
I mean, I think so. I'm pretty happy with it. Like, it
Good.
combines everything that I love into like one thing.
Yeah.
And
You
there's
know?
other people that love it too and are buying and supporting
Yeah.
it. And like I think that's a real
Yeah.
that's an amazing thing.
It's a sense of community. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like so many fossil lovers and shark's tooth lovers out there
Yeah.
that I had no idea that community existed.
That's like your little niche, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like my little niche. And I like, you know, I've messaged some of these people a lot, and like, you know, they'll show me pictures of like the teeth they found that day, you know, and I'll be
that's
like,
your
cool.
oh,
community
that's so
building,
cool.
That's good.
And we can geek out about it together, you know, which is
That's
pretty
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, what does it? We obviously talked about what it looks like from a business perspective, but are you happy with your range now? Will that range always exist, and then maybe the next thing will be something totally different, or do you think you still, because you do your mugs, primarily your mugs, don't you? Mm-hmm. You do bowls, and then you show there's some other bits and bobs. Do you want to talk about them? You know, you do some ornamental stuff. You've got some feather holders and some. Are these tooth holders behind us?
Yes. So I'll grab
They're so
one
cute.
of those. Aren't they cool? This was my husband's idea. Like I told you, he's super creative.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like he'll come up with these ideas. So he's like idea man, and I'm like make
will get
it
it
into
done.
something, you know. But yeah, so like he had this idea. I was like, man, I want to make displays this year for collections.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can I display teeth in a cool way? And Joe Bob was like, make a shark jaw. And I was like, that's
of course,
awesome.
yeah.
Like, duh. You know, like, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, Joe. I already thought about that. Yeah.
Right, I never would have thought about that. But yeah, it's so cool. Like, so, you know, when the clay was wet, so you just have to worry about like shrinkage, right? Because clay shrinks as it fires.
Yeah, Jason was
So,
telling
like,
us this.
Yeah, it's quite a high percentage as well. isn't it?
Yes, quite a high percentage. And so I like put them in and I kind of wiggled them around, you know, to make it like bigger. But then, you know, you can always put smaller teeth in too because they come in all sizes.
Yeah.
But yeah, like how cool is that? And then it just looks like a little, you know,
That's awesome.
a little shark jaw. So yeah, because I have all these things that I collect, like I said, like searching for crystals and rocks and all kinds of stuff like that since I was little.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was like, what are ways I can display these in the home that would be cool?
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes they just like sit out, which is still cool. But it's like you can amp it up
Yeah.
somehow, you know. And same with the feather displays. I was like, there's nowhere cool to put my feathers, you know.
Yeah, add a
Like,
little something just to your shelf.
yeah, I want something. So like, you know, I made that based on a crinoid stem fossil, which are like these ancient plant marine fossils that I have. I'll show you them later.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
So you do more homewares, more display pieces, that kind of stuff?
I've wanted to do that this year, yeah. So like, and then I made these little, like, coral inspired.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's like what you'd pick up at the beach, but then they have like the little cubbies to put like shells
Bits
and stuff,
Yeah.
bits and bobs, yeah. So
Rings in or jewelry or something.
yeah, like you could put anything in it. So I do want to explore that a lot more this year, like making things that.
That's a good collaboration. Jewellery inside, like,
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
Who
that'd
was
be
it
really
that
cool.
done? You got a wedding and engagement ring holder, well, just a ring holder. Who was the potter that we got it from?
It's a wee cat. And you put the rings
With a
on
big
the
long
tail.
tail.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
so
it was a lady in our first edition.
And I was
I
like,
don't remember her name.
obviously it's always cool, but
Yeah.
I'm just like a double practical kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it, I'm like,
That's actually pretty
why?
practical.
It's a cat.
I know, but it's
And then
practical.
as soon as I was like, oh, you put stuff like,
Yeah.
You won't
Sick.
lose your rings.
yeah, I was like,
Yes.
oh, that's meant. Like that makes total sense. It's like
Yes.
a nice place to put it rather than just dumping them on the side. You know, it's like leather valley trays.
Yeah.
Like the little valley trays. It just looks so much nicer than just dumping your stuff on the side. I don't know if you
Oh,
call
I
them
don't know.
valley trays here. It's like a
Like a trinket tray? Or
maybe like a
trinket dish?
trinket tray. Yeah, it's like a square of leather and just kind of fold the corners up to make it like a little dish.
Oh, I've never seen that before.
Oh man, I'll show you them. They're wicked. I love them because
They
it's like
sound cool.
yeah,
Put your keys and loose change in or wallet. It's just a nice
Yeah.
thing to put on your side table.
yeah, because we lose keys like
Yeah.
nobody's business. We always not lose them, but we always misplace them and run about trying to find them. We always can find them, but so we moved out of we sold a flat and moved out of that into one that we'd been renovating. And when I was given the keys to the new owner, lovely woman that we'd sold it to, we'd only been in it for 11 months. And I
Yeah.
had like 5 sets of keys.
Yeah, because I kept,
I was
well,
like-
kept
Because you kept losing them.
Yeah.
And
I
having
kept putting
to
them
get
down, and then every time we got down to like one, I'd go and get another like 2 cut. And then obviously at some point we just found them all.
Yes.
So it was like,
Oh my
like,
gosh.
why have we got all these? So yeah, like stuff like that, it solves a little problem, doesn't it? You've got somewhere
Yeah.
to dump it.
You can just put it there and it's aesthetic
Pretty.
too.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
it's a talking point. That's what I like. Things
Yeah.
like that. Someone comes into your home, you're like, cool, what's that?
Yes.
It's a good talking point.
It is.
And then you get a story from something. That's what I love about handmade. You walk into someone's house and you just notice. I notice handmade things from a mile off, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
you
oh,
do.
cool, what's that? Tells a story.
Yes.
It's the same. That's why we buy handmade because it's so much.
There's a
nice.
story behind
It's
it. Like
better,
I say,
yeah.
you're buying a chunk of the person's life.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, do you get as much enjoyment and as much thrill out of making the sort of the hand stuff as well? They're all handmade, of course they are.
Yeah.
But the sort of hand molded
Like
stuff,
sculpted.
sculpted stuff
Yeah.
as throwing. What's your preference there? Do you have
Oh
one?
man, I don't know. The throwing is so satisfying because it's like I said, you have this lump of clay, and then pretty instantly it turns into this, really nice shape, whether that's a mug or a bowl or whatever it is. And I really like the meditativeness of it, like the way it spins and stuff, and the sounds and everything like that. Honestly, this handmade stuff that I all made when my back was out, and I
Okay.
couldn't move. I was stuck at home. It was really low. But I was like, I can still make stuff on the couch if I'm hand building it, if I'm sculpting
okay.
it. So in a way, like those pieces are really precious to me because they help me get through that
Yeah.
Amazing.
low.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was
But they
like,
also
doing
sound-
something with my hands.
Yeah, and they also sound like going forward, not only are they helping you mentally, which is super important, but it means production doesn't need to stop. If
Yeah.
you know there are chronic back issues that will plague you, production doesn't need to stop. Because if you're flaring up one day or flaring up one week, I don't know how long they last, but you can just
I can
chip
do
away at
stuff like
those.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I like combining both because, it helps me make when I can't do that.
It sounds like in a very short time you've kind of nailed a product line pretty quick.
I really thought about it this year. So like at the beginning of this year, I kind of sat down and I was like, okay, I've been playing for 3.5 years now. I've tried a lot of different stuff.
Right.
I've tried pretty much every decorating technique that I know of, I just wanted to try everything. And I was like, okay, I've tried everything now. I know what I like and what do I like the most, and you even look in your closet, you're like, what colors are in my closet? Where do I like to be the most? What inspires me? Stuff like that. And I was like, well, fossils and nature and minerals. So a lot of this hand sculpted stuff, I wanted it to feel like a piece of nature in
Yeah.
your home, just like you'd taken it from some mermaid's lair or
Yeah.
something and,
Yeah.
and you put it in your home. I really have tried to be a lot more intentional this year of okay, these are the kind of pieces I want to make. This is the vibe I want. This is the color scheme, and stuff like that. And once I really thought about that, everything kind of came together a lot easier.
And like, how do you source your materials? Like, where do you get them online, or do you go to a shop, or?
There's a shop nearby.
Okay.
It's
So
called
there's good support for ceramicists in this area, is there?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's like 30 minutes away,
Wicked.
20 something, 30 minutes away.
It's quite
So
important that, being able to go into a shop and see the material, because you're using that. I mean, yes, of course, once you know what you've got, maybe going online and buying it, there is going to be financial benefits of it, and there's always going to be the chance that you just run out and you need to nip to a shop and get it.
Yeah, like
But
right away.
I can imagine there's like different clays, different stuff. So being able to go in and put your hands on stuff.
yes,
I think we really struggle to sell the book at the price point, and we have had some negative comments, not to shy away from that, of 18 quid for a book. But then, like
it's
you'll
really
know,
thick though.
yeah, but how do you communicate that online?
Yeah.
And you know, I think that's
Videos.
definitely a thing.
Yeah, more videos.
That's it. That's all you've
Yeah.
got. So having a shop like that, especially starting out, that must have been super important.
Oh yeah, it's so great because like sometimes I'd run out of a color, and I'm like, love, we gotta go
Yeah.
go get some underglaze.
You can also speak to someone for advice.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
really nice. You can be like, I want to do this thing. What's this tool? That was also great about taking classes is because, like,
Yeah,
you have your teacher there and you can be like, I want to make this thing or I want to do this style or do this technique, and they'll just tell you how.
Yeah.
And presumably they'll be well stocked on tools and clays, so you can try a lot without going and buying. You know,
Yeah.
we're literally just off the back of the District Leather podcast that we done, a couple of hours ago. And what I think is so special about his business is he's been the maker buying the full hide.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about to you earlier, and we've been the maker buying the full hide of leather and then cut 2 strips off it. And all of a sudden, like that hide's like nearly 400 quid for the leather we used to use. It's expensive
expensive.
stuff. And then you get 2 belts out of it and you're like, what's the... And obviously it's not the same because you get like some hides you'll do all of them and it's great.
Yeah.
You'll make profit out of them. So that's just life. But all of a sudden, what would those 2 belts have had to cost for those 2 strips?
A lot.
Do you know what I mean? Just those 2 belts would
Yeah.
have been 200 quid of material if you didn't use the rest of the hide.
Yep.
So going somewhere where, like a class that's super stocked, that must have just opened your eyes.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's great. And like, so they have the little pigments which I used in that mug you were using earlier. Like they'll sell them in like these little amounts,
Yeah.
whereas online you'd have to buy them, like in a bigger amount.
That's
But you
good.
can just get it and like experiment with it.
That's a great idea.
So yeah, that's from the local ceramic center.
Yeah, because the last thing you want to do is go and buy like
A huge thing.
a
of
2 kilo
something.
jug,
Yeah.
well, £5 jug of pigment and be like, oh, it wasn't the right colour.
Yeah.
Great.
wow.
Yeah, pour it out the sink. Or have to resell it, or I don't know if they're resellable stuff, like I don't know. So that must
Yeah.
be. But, and what about selling it? Do you have it stocked in stores? Do you find stores are... I know you've sold stuff through Facebook. What is your main advertising or getting out there to the public?
So my main thing is I sell on my Etsy shop.
Yep.
And then, a lot of people through Instagram go to my Etsy shop. I think that's where most of my traffic is from. It's from Instagram. But I also actually do have some stuff in a store in Florida that specializes in shark's teeth
Nice.
and
amazing.
fossils. Yeah, it's so cool. So like,
You're really pushing this shark tooth in this,
yeah,
aren't you?
I know. Like it was such a cool vibe. Like we went
Yeah.
down there for vacation and like I noticed there was this shop that sold shark's teeth and I was like, I should bring some of my stuff down and show them and see if they're interested. Which for me was really hard because I'm an introvert.
Right.
And I'm like,
Like every other maker on the planet.
yeah, like
It's
every other
hard.
maker on the planet, I was like, I do not want to put myself out there. I do not want to ask. But I did. I went in and I showed her. I was like, hey, like, this is what I make. Would you guys be interested? And it's like a family-owned shop. And they were like, yeah. And so, like,
Oh, that's great.
they took what I had there. And then, like, I've been working with them for a couple of years now, I think.
So you just take that chance. Just go and speak to that person. The worst
Yeah.
you can say is no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about other makers that are in the same position, though, that are more introverted? What would you say to them?
I would say just like take that chance, like talk to that person, do the thing, like, yeah, the worst they can say is no, or I'm not interested or whatever. But like in my experience, it's always been worth it.
That's good.
So
It's worked
That's
out.
good. Yeah.
yeah,
It's worked out for you, and
Yeah.
yeah,
it's just another avenue for people to see your work,
yeah.
which is
Which is well,
They
what
can
you need,
feel
don't
your
they?
work.
Yeah.
Whereas
they
online,
can see it in person. Like, you know, pictures can only do so much. Like,
Yep.
but when you're holding it in your hand, you know, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, like the weight is good or whatever, like the handle, whatever it is.
Yeah, and this is obviously just the sales stuff. What you mentioned earlier, you do commissions as well. How does that all work? Where are those people getting in touch with you from?
I did commissions.
Dead commissions, right.
okay.
So like, especially in the beginning, I did a lot for like my friends and my family, and like then other people, you know, would reach out and be like, hey, like I want a shark's tooth mug for my son or whatever, and I'd be like, yeah. But eventually, it was just so. Pottery is very volatile, which I'm sure you guys know probably by talking to the other potters that you've talked with. But it's like there's so many things that can go wrong at like every stage. So like when it's drying, it can crack, you know, when it's fired, it can crack. When a glaze can do something weird in the kiln, even though you fired it the same way that you did before.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different things. And so eventually through doing that and having things happen, you know, it wouldn't happen every time, but like sometimes it would, like, especially with what I do. I mean, those mugs take like 2 or 3 hours to paint and carve.
Wow.
And then if that cracks, it's
Yeah,
like
it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
devastating. And so for me, it was just like so much pressure, like every time that I was like, okay, I need to set this boundary for myself. Like some potters can do it and can handle doing lots of commissions and stuff. But for me, it kind of took away some of the joy of just making what I want
Yeah.
to make.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
As
was
soon as the
just like,
joy's gone,
yeah,
why am I doing it?
yeah. And it started to be like that. So I was like, I just need to stop.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. I
That's
think
That's a
that's
good
pretty
decision,
sensible.
you know, to make that decision.
Yeah.
You're not just
Yeah.
stressing yourself out over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the moment you making batches.
Yes.
So at least if you have a crack, it's not the thing.
Yeah, it's
gone.
not awful because it's
Yeah.
like, okay, like it wasn't committed to somebody. You know,
Yeah,
someone wasn't
yeah.
counting on it.
Yeah.
Someone
you know?
wasn't expected to be delivered next week, and now I need
Yeah.
to start again, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what size are those batches?
So it really depends. When I fire in my friend's kiln, her kiln is like maybe like this big. It can probably hold about 50 items.
Okay.
So I'd say that's probably about the size right now
Yeah.
that I'm working on.
That's good.
That's good.
It's a good batch.
Yeah, I think that's a good size, isn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously, we're asking loads of questions, by the way. So, is there anything you want to cover? Is there anything that was like on your mind? Like, I want to cover this while we're in the pod.
Let's see.
Jeez, don't break.
Idiot.
Good thing that one's porcelain. It's sturdy.
Sorry, I've just spelt.
Oh, it's fine.
No.
So let's see. I had written some stuff. Let's see. I think we've
It
covered.
can't take you
most of it.
anywhere, Jack.
I'm a
You spilled water the other day as well.
You know what I done the other night? I knocked a glass of water at the side of my bed with a pillow.
Oh, there were 2 more things. Okay, so one of them was the chronic pain and working.
Yeah.
So like if there's anyone else out there, any other makers that are struggling with that, because I know there are others, I would say just like make a little bit here and there, you know, like don't stop
Yeah.
completely. Like, you know, if you have a good day, make like 4 things and then like call it a day, you know, listen to your body and stop.
Yeah.
And then like wait a couple days and make a couple more things. Like who says that you have to make a ton of stuff at one time?
Yeah.
No
Still
one.
better to be a couple of hours of being productive
Yeah.
than just writing the whole day off, isn't it?
Yeah. And you feel better like because you've created something, because creative types, like it's almost like you need to create.
Yeah.
You have that urge. So it's like, I would just say that.
And,
And
were
then-
you quite in tune to that straight away, or was that something that you picked up through? Sort of
It's something
being
I
in
needed to
chronic
work
pain.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Must have done a lot upstairs as well. Like mentally, it must have
Yeah.
been good for you.
yeah. Because it's like, I feel this pressure, like, you know, they say don't compare yourself, which is hard. Because you see all these other potters like Florian Gatsby,
Yeah.
who makes like, you know, 50 mugs in one day and stuff like that. And you're like, that's the goal. Make 50 mugs in a day. But my body just can't do that.
Yeah.
And so like you have to come to the realization like, okay, I can do things my way and that's okay. It doesn't have to look like everyone else's, you know.
Also, remember what you're seeing of Florian Gadsby is his highlight reel.
Yeah.
I'm acutely aware of Instagram.
Yeah.
Everyone's a highlight reel.
Yeah.
It's true.
Like
And he's been doing it a long, long time.
he's been doing
Oh,
it a long
yeah.
time. I love nothing more than when I see when he's doing a job and he just like smashes it flat.
Yes.
I love that. I'm like, yes.
Yes, it happens to the best of us.
Yeah, that's the ones that I'm waiting for. I'm watching them and I'm like, oh, cool. And I'll log on daily to see him smash something to be like,
Right.
yes,
Yes.
he made a mistake. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I'm just like, he's human, like the rest of us.
Yes.
And celebrating that mistake. You know, he's obviously he probably just finds it funny.
Oh yeah. Like if pottery teaches you anything, it's to accept failure.
Yeah.
You know, like it happens so often, and you just have to be like, in the beginning, it's so hard. You want to hold on to like everything you make.
Yeah.
But then you get to this point where you're like, no, I can just remake it. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a big deal.
Overthink
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, don't overthink
Yeah, you got
it.
the clay, you got the wheel, you've clearly got the skill.
Yeah.
Just redo it.
Yeah, just it's not a big deal.
So it's actually something I didn't know about you until you brought it up, is how, I was going to say influential, and that's very much the wrong word. How much of a driving factor to, again, also a very wrong word, it's not a driving factor, but how big a thing the chronic back pain was to your life. Like finding this, what has this done? Because surely like chronic back pain like that, if you're working a normal office job or having to sit in a seat.
It would be impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it started like a year after my son was born.
Right.
I would say. So I was really young. I was like 24 when
Okay.
it started. Like way too young to be hobbling around, you know.
Yeah.
You think, oh, when I'm like 50 or 60, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I have to deal with this. Not when you're in your early 20s. And yeah, it was just really hard. And this gives me like this awesome creative outlet where I can do something, and not only do something creatively, but also feel like I'm contributing financially.
Yeah.
And yeah, in a way that I can set my own schedule.
Yep.
I can work when I can.
Yep.
And I cannot when I can't.
Yeah.
And be around for your son and your family, and like that's a big thing in itself.
Yeah, just like that's another thing I was going to bring up. Like when you have a kid, it's so easy to like lose yourself. Like you kind of tend to stop doing whatever you're doing creatively just because you're so focused on, you know, your child. But it was so awesome to find a creative outlet to do so. It just makes me more me.
Yeah.
And
It's
like
really important
That's
to
really
say.
important.
so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And I can better handle being a mother and a wife and
okay.
everything because
You can still be you.
yeah, I can still be me. I'm not lost in being only a mom or only a wife or whatever it is, you know.
That's good.
So yeah.
You still have time to just express yourself through your work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
It feels like you've found your place.
I feel
You've
like
really
I have.
found your place, and
Yeah.
you're still very young to have found your place. You know, there's like Tracy's only just found pottery in the last year or 2, and she's so happy,
Yes.
It's awesome.
so happy. Yeah,
And she's got her studio out underneath her house.
yeah, it's at a
Oh, a
basement
basement?
level. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Tim's got his pen studio, and Tracy's got her pottery studio, and it's wicked.
Just having
It's
your
cool.
own space
Yeah.
like here, like just
Yeah.
it's amazing. And
Your
you've
your little stamp on the world.
got a nice
Yep.
view from your back.
I know.
You know.
It's awesome. I love it. All the green and the birds singing and, you know,
Yeah.
it's very nice.
Also, how do you like market your work? Like, do you I see you do your reels.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy doing that, or do you find it quite stressful?
I do.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was a music major, so I performed
Yeah.
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
in front of lots of people. And so for me, like, it's also kind of an outlet for the performance aspect. Like,
Okay.
you know, like an Instagram, like, it wasn't as intimidating, even though I am an introvert, because I'm like, I've performed in front of tons of people. And so I can perform online. And I actually like the videography and like the photography part. Like,
Yeah.
I've always wanted to have a nice camera anyway. I'm like,
Yeah.
Do you have a background in it at all? Did you do any photography study or anything like that?
I didn't. I just, you know, see what
Just
looks
picked it
good
up,
and
yeah. You got an eye for it,
put it in
clearly.
the frame. Thank you.
Yeah. I think, do you know, photography is one of those skills that
I wish I had it.
I wish I had it.
I mean, I can take a photo, but
Yeah, you can take a
so
photo,
much
but
involved.
there's taking a photo and there's taking a photo.
Yeah.
You know, there's some people that they can take
You
a photo.
captured that person so well. you know, even hand pictures are just like, that's
And especially in a world, right, where people, like, we're lucky, we get to do this. We get to sit in your studio with you, but in a world where people can't do that, and like we were talking earlier, like feeling the weight of it, like
Yeah.
a good photo can communicate that
so
quality.
much.
Yeah.
You know, it's really, really good. And when are we going to see loads of reels of you just like smashing pots? And spinning pots every day? I want to see
Hopefully
every
never.
potter just like
Smashing
like
stuff.
every day just throwing a pot.
Just to
I
be
need
like,
to do more of that. Like,
don't
I
take
just-
it so seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't take it so serious.
Yeah, I'm on a massive drive to not take Instagram so seriously, and it's great fun. I must say, it's
Yeah.
great fun. So
It is.
there's a balancing act, but you said you had something else you wanted to cover. Did we cover it?
I think we may have.
Yeah,
'cause
make sure we
it's the
covered everything you
whole-
want to
Yeah. Let's see.
You talk really well, like really punchy and really concisely.
Oh,
like,
thank
we're
you.
like, we're like coming on an hour in, and it's like everything's just.
You know what to say. You believe in yourself, and you believe.
Yeah, I
in
get that impression. I get that impression. You really believe in what you're doing.
I honestly, I mean, you've met Joe Bob.
Yeah,
He's the best.
yeah.
He really is. Like,
It just shows your support system, and like
yeah.
he really uplifts you. You know.
He
and-
really believes I can do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He said you could do anything. It would be great.
And
That's
he like
important, huh?
believes it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, if he believes it,
Then I
maybe I can, you know? Like,
yeah.
I feel like if everyone had a partner like that, the world would be completely different.
Tracy. I keep saying Tracy and Tim, but like they
I
all,
need to meet these people.
Yeah. I mean,
Sure, they're not far.
they've not been married long. They find themselves together later
Later
in
in
life,
life.
and like they just are like this.
You can tell
Yeah.
they feed off each other.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
Like,
they're
it's
good
great.
support for each other, and I can quite clearly see you're both the same. So it does. It makes a difference.
It makes a huge difference.
Tim's getting all the shout outs in the podcast now, eh?
Well, you
Go
know,
Tim.
legend.
Go Team Tim and Tracy. Yeah.
T, double T.
Yeah, they're wicked, and yeah, that's cool that you've got that support
Yeah.
with Joe, especially having a kid, and
Yeah.
especially having the health problems that you've had. You know, I can imagine there's been some bad days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Real lows. But I mean, being here in this house, we're renting this house. Hopefully someday we can own it. But with my parents right there, like when my back is bad and I can't like take him to the bus stop and stuff, my
Yeah.
parents can come stop by,
So handy.
take it for me, you know, and like there's
Even that supports.
a huge support
Invaluable.
system.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my brother and his wife are living with them, so it's like literally everyone is here.
Yeah.
Nice,
Everyone you
nice.
need.
And it's awesome.
Yeah.
So having that support is just, I'm really lucky. I know everyone doesn't have that kind of support, but
Yeah. And do you feel with this business that you're building now that you're officially going to make it a business, do you feel that that'll allow you to buy a house and make it a thing? Do you know what I mean?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I think so. Like if it keeps going, you know, it's frustrating sometimes. I'm still a pretty small account, but like I feel like just if you keep doing a little bit of something, it just grows really
It
slowly.
does organically. You
Yeah.
want it to go organically.
Yes.
And then everyone will listen to this podcast,
That's
realise how an amazing person you are, and everyone will follow you, and it'll be great.
Yes.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
That's
But
good.
yeah, I feel like it'll eventually get there.
Yeah, good.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Keep
Yep.
doing what you're doing.
Exactly.
It's okay.
Yeah. Last question.
Okay.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, geez. I would say, because my younger self would not put herself out there,
Yeah.
I would say, go for what you want. Don't care what other people think. And just do what makes you happy.
That's a very good answer.
Everyone has a variation on that.
Yeah, but they all
Yeah.
the
Every like good, true, honest maker that we speak to has a variation on that.
Yeah. Which is
And
you do you.
yeah.
Yeah, it's hard when you're younger, but I feel like when you reach 30, it felt like a magic age where I was like, okay, I don't have to care so much about what other people think.
That's me next month, 30.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
reaching
anyone
the
listening
30
to
club.
that-
30 club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone listening to this, we should hopefully get it out pretty soon. We're going to try and get a bunch of them online. Kate wants to hit 30,000 followers
By the time
before
I'm
she's
30.
That's the goal. So
Ooh,
jump
do
on
it.
board.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That'd be awesome.
It's not important, but you know, you're just always like,
It's still
it's
fun.
a little
it's just one of
goal.
those daft little goals, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just need to make
Yeah.
small goals because you need to hit something, don't you?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've loved chatting to you. I'm so
Yeah.
glad you dropped in. I know, and the only thing I would say
Yes.
is when you dropped into our DMs to say, "Oh, see, I'm only a small maker." Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like, you're only a small maker on the face of Instagram. Like, shit,
Yeah.
who cares? Like, you're doing cool stuff.
Thank you.
Try not. This has come from Scottish people, so we're very self-deprecating. Try not to be so self-deprecating, because you're wicked good at what you do.
Thank you.
And I've really enjoyed this conversation with you. You speak really well. You communicate it all really well. I'm glad you found what you love.
Thank you.
So
We'll wrap it up at that. That was snappy, quick. That was good. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Nailed it.
Nailed it.